Hey, Patrice, I had that moment like when my cell phone rings and then I put it on call waiting and hold somebody, and then I try to get back. Every time that I actually didn't hang up on them, I'm really happy. Okay, who is this? Let me see who this is. Uh, Hold on a second. Yeah, that was Crawford trying to get on. Um, oh, there's Dale too. All right.
I had to wait for about 10 minutes before it opened up for me, so maybe Crawford is
experiencing
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and my apologies again. We had a bit of a mix up with the links. So hopefully folks are still able to join.
We haven't got Mark, we haven't got Mark back though, right?
Yes, Mark is on.
Oh, I gotta get a better screen then here. Let me see.
Did you pay your bill, Michael?
Okay. All right. I think okay, we can jump into this here. So we've done welcome, and then I believe we do have the opportunity to we are going to do more thorough introductions coming up for the CAB members, but this is a chance for us to acknowledge anybody from the public that's here, and well, also Dale's here as a prospective CAB member as well. And I said hello to Jill before we got kicked off the technology. And we have.
Do you want me to reintroduce myself, Michael, or are we good?
Say hi, let everybody know who you are.
Jill Ray, Office of Supervisor Candace Anderson.
And I see we got Susan, and is that Susan Woodhouse?
Yes, it is. Susan Woodhouse from the HIP program, Public Defender's Office.
All right, thank you. And I see Lynette as well.
Hi, everyone. Lynette Williams, Stand Together, Contra Costa.
Hey, and then can we just add Crawford to the roll call here? We did just do a roll call earlier, not necessarily introductions for the CAB members yet. So, all right. And then you've already introduced Monique. And then we have Patrice as well.
Yes, so just really quickly, because there are new people on here, I do want to acknowledge again, Monique Tate is our newest program coordinator here with Office of Reentry and Justice. We're really happy to have her. She comes from Alameda County Office of Ed. So she will be very, very helpful in supporting a lot of our CBO providers, and then also providing support staffing wise to some of our committees and advisory boards. So happy to have her.
And is there any other announcements?
Michael, since I wasn't able to get in at the beginning of the agenda, I noticed on the agenda early on that that the people from the community could speak. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, or if that would be coming up later.
No, this is still in our first kind of agenda. We do welcome introductions and if there's any announcements.
Thank you.
Oh, and then Jerry's having trouble getting back in here. Just 1 second, I'm trying to get Jerry hooked up here. So we can do. All right, so no other announcements? All right, so now agenda item 2 is the public comment on any item that's not under the jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board, and it's not on the agenda. So that's the opportunity for public comment. Did you have something, Dale?
Yeah, mine is under the jurisdiction, but it isn't on the agenda. And as you know, Michael, the Outreach and Community Development Subcommittee voted on Tuesday to recommend that I be an alternate member. And so I have a question. I've looked at the operating guidelines under membership, Article 3 and Section 2, and it mentions member, but nothing about alternate member. So what I'm wondering is, does the word member in Article 3, Section 2 of the operating guidelines refer to both voting and alternate members?
And what specific?
Well, as a member, it refers to terms.
Oh, terms.
And so forth. But if I were to be approved and then be an official alternate member and stay an alternate member, do the provisions about terms apply to me or only to voting members? That's my question.
We'll get into that. I'll get back to you specifically about that myself or Patrice. I know there was we haven't really had to really look at the non-voting members for a while, but my understanding right from the get is that the timeframes are the same. But let me get back to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
I'll clear that up, okay? So is that all public comment? All right, as our next agenda item. So just, I know everybody's here and I appreciate you folks for showing up for this meeting. And I know if you're here, you've kind of heard some of my thoughts and reasoning on why we even have this meeting happening today. And I did really want to look at kind of a mid-year thing and for us to kind of have I don't know if it was like a retreat light or just the fact that I did want us to kind of touch base again, kind of check in. And the idea was that, again, in my thought process was that we never really, I know some people here that we actually had meetings in person or we've crossed paths through employment, and other folks, we've just really only known each other through this medium. So I really requesting that everybody who's here that is a board member, if you could just kind of give another introduction, kind of tell us about yourself a little bit, that little thumbnail sketch and kind of where you fit in to this whole realignment and maybe what brought you to CAB. So I'll start out if I could. So I'm Michael Pitts, and I actually spent most of my career in probation. I did 21 years in juvenile probation and worked with institutions. And one of the things that kind of I thought was a good transition to the work that I do now is I know there's been a lot of changes with realignment and how you look at rehabilitation, which is we've made strides. But one thing that has been clear that even from me as a gray hair was that rehabilitation was part of the thought and idea when you're working with juveniles. So once I transitioned to what I do now is caseload manager with Health Right 360 Realignment, the reentry network, and that we are connecting with, our returning folks with services. And I am underneath the whole network of services. I am under, our agency is under the umbrella of realignment. So there are folks in this, in this room that I do connect and work with. And so that's what kind of brought me to CAB was, one, there was a connection to our agency and what we do. But I think it's just it was a natural step just in my whole career, looking at juvenile rehabilitation, connecting with services. Now as a caseload manager, and now just for the nerd part of me to kind of really look at, where all the money's going and all the nooks and crannies of the support services and all kind of support in the county. So that's me. I've seen this in a meeting before, so now I'll just call somebody and then we'll go that. So we are looking for members. So Ozzy. Were you here when I set this up? Were you here?
No, I wasn't. So what's up?
So I'm asking just for kind of a quick, one of the introduction, like to our group, to our CAB members once again. Just a couple minutes, kind of tell us, who you are, a little bit about yourself, what brought you here, and yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that startling bit of information. Well, my name is Ozzy Carter. Actually, that is not my original name. I do have a government name that I don't particularly use. I believe that words and names have power. I'm formerly incarcerated individual, and what brought me to CAB was once I retired from the workforce, nonprofit, affordable housing, healthcare industries, after becoming self-sufficient through my own contributions to society, I was able to retire. And after retiring, I decided that I would go back to school. And once I went back to school, I discovered a new vocabulary. And that vocabulary consisted of the things that were buzzwords, and buzzwords were reentry. And I kind of got thrown under the bus at a community college because I was trying to fly under the radar. I didn't want anyone to know that I was formerly incarcerated because I changed my life and I wanted a new persona. And I didn't know anything about the new propositions and that I could really go to school and get financial aid and didn't have to be afraid. And I was outed by an individual at a really very influential meeting, so that I thought. And actually, it hurt my feelings. It almost made me quit academia because I was embarrassed, because I thought everyone thought less of me, because I had developed this persona of this person that I had become since becoming self-sufficient through my own contributions to society. So once I discovered that I was a reentry student, more ways than just an absence from the community going to school, but also reentry being formerly incarcerated. So making a long story short, I took that lemon that was dealt to me and made some lemonade, and I became an advocate for other people, reentry individuals. I started going out to the nonprofit organizations, letting them know that there was a safe place and that I was there, and I would be there to mentor and help individuals cross that scary threshold of coming back into academia. And from there, you know, it's been easy for me. I discovered what restorative justice was and how it lacked the luster when I was incarcerated, because it's been over 30, maybe 40 years since I was incarcerated. So that became my platform, restorative justice. And I was able to bring restorative justice concepts to the community college. And once I left community college, I was gifted to a free ride at UC Berkeley. And that's where I am currently doing my undergraduate work. And I'm coming to CAB because I want to be a voice for sometimes the voiceless. I want to make sure that the things that I didn't have when I was doing my tour of duty in the carceral system, and making sure that the funding and the monies that are allocated, and making sure that a lot of the disparities and inequalities that I faced are that are being underrepresented, making myself an advocate. You know, I'm an agent for social change now. So I probably took a long time, but you know, once I get started, it's really hard for me to stop because, you know, life is good today, and being on this board gives me an opportunity to serve my communities and give back. You know, I'm paying my life forward, you know, and that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Ozzy. Can you pass the baton to someone?
Crawford Carpenter.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Crawford Carpenter. I will grab the baton from Ozzy. And believe it or not, I came onto the CAB board, and this maybe will answer your question, Dale, as an alternate. And at the time that I came on, Ozzy and I were reviewed together, but there was just one opening. So therefore, Ozzy was selected as the primary person. I was the alternate, and lo and behold, maybe 2 weeks later, somebody took a hike, so to speak, and I became a full member. So Dale, maybe that'll help answer your question. Things happen rather quickly, to say the least. And maybe to begin, I'm a retired person. I was in the business world for 45 years, had a great time, had a lot of fun, and traveled across the United States, et cetera, because that's what my job entailed. So I've just had fun. And I figured, doggone it, I've been so very, very fortunate. And now it's time maybe to give back to the community. And the real impetus for me to get involved, it really goes back to George Floyd. And that after watching that particular situation, I said, that's it, what can I do? And what was really, I guess, an omen is that State Senator Glazer held a webinar for those of us that were his constituents. And I thought it was an excellent webinar where they were talking about individuals, everyday citizens such as myself, should get involved. And then after the webinar, I called his office. I said, well, okay, you are able to, you know, tell me what to do, but you didn't tell me where to go. And so what was good is somebody in his office sent me to Supervisor Anderson's office, and Jill Ray, believe it or not, was instrumental in bringing me to CAB. So I thank you, Jill. And maybe to finish here, Michael, you asked me, you know, where are we and how do we fit in? Well, I'm still scratching my head and I still don't know where to say I fit in. But that being said, so far, this has been fun for me. And I just hope that all of us, you know, working together here can, you know, have a little fun. It's a serious subject, but by George, get something done. So that's it. Oh, by the way, too, I'm ex-military. I served in the Air Force for 4 years during Vietnam. That's it.
Thank you, Crawford. Hey, pass the baton for us.
Okay, I would like to pass the baton to Dr. Michelle Hernandez.
Thank you, Crawford. My name is Dr. Michelle Hernandez. I'm a clinical psychologist. I have, my background is in both criminal justice administration with a specialization in law enforcement and clinical psychology. So I trained at the National Center for PTSD through the Veterans Administration, and I've worked a lot with people, youth incarcerated, foster youth, and my passion is disability and mental health. So I advocate for accessibility and mental health services. And I really appreciate what Mark Thomas said, because in all the research I've done, my international research, this really kind of goes back to trauma. And I kind of bring that perspective to help people that need services and advocacy. So that's my passion. And I know people will get sick of hearing about disability, but that's what I bring to the table. And thank you, Crawford, for saying, I don't know where I fit in, but I'm happy to be here. And I'm very thankful that you guys are truly inclusive and open-minded, and the environment is safe compared to, I'm on a lot of councils, a lot of boards, and it's a lot of people saying things, but not really meaning them. So I just want to let all of you know that I'm grateful that you guys give everybody on this committee a chance to have a voice and speak. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Nance. You see another one of your CAB members you want to pass the baton to?
Yeah, Nicole Green.
Thank you.
I knew it. I don't know if I can beat everyone. Awesome stories. My name is Nicole Green. I kind of like well, Ms. Carter said it's more for me. I stepped into reentry about 5 years ago. My background was completely different. I was a banking girl, and then I experienced my own issues with reentry personally within family. A lot of people that know me know my story. And just based on personal experience and hearing new words, it brought me to reentry and wanting to give back to others. So I still feel like I'm a baby in this field. Once I heard about the CAB, I was very eager to join it because there's a lot I don't know. So I want to know about the funding and what's out there, and the program changes is very exciting for me. So I wanted to join just to widen my vocabulary, learn more about reentry and what I think I already know, and thought it was a good starting place for me to learn from others. I get a lot of information when I am on the meetings, but really for me, it's ever since my own personal thing happened to me and seeing how hard it is for an individual that is incarcerated. I just stepped in the road I couldn't walk away from. So you have to give back and help others to overcome. It's been ongoing for me. I've been extremely blessed, and I just want to, show someone else that they do have a second chance as well. So wherever I can fit in to help reentry, Nicole was there. So one of my very beginnings was joining CAB with all of you. And let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I am going to go with, let's see. I'm having a moment here.
Or if you don't have your screen, I can snatch the baton.
Okay, thank you. You said today I'm like Zoom, just not.
Shayla, we'll pass it to Shayla.
Thank you. All right, let me just raise my hand because we got to keep the ball rolling. Shayla Bonner here. I lived in Richmond for most of my life. I'm currently living in Stockton, but I work for Safe Return Project, which is a nonprofit organization that advocates for formerly incarcerated people. And my work really ties to CAB, and that's how and why I got started, really. As well as my beliefs. Again, I am formerly incarcerated, so I know the barriers coming home and reentry. And I felt like when I came home, I didn't have any kind of support. And it really opened my eyes as to why a lot of people recidivate and go back in, because they now have this blanket and it's buried on their back. And I just wanted to make sure like the voices of formerly incarcerated people was at this table. When I joined the policy and budget subcommittee, I really advocated for gender specific resources, specifically for women, young girls, and non-binary folks. And that's where my heart is. It's just to make sure like people coming home, just, you know, they get the support that they need. They're not just left out to the wolves, left on their own to figure it out. Just wanted to make sure that there were some adequate resources that are available to them and that they know about them. So that's why I'm here, and I will pass it to Lila.
Thank you, Shayla. Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. I started volunteering with visiting folks who were incarcerated in high school in Southern California, and then out of college, I had the privilege of working with Spanish-speaking youth who were in juvenile hall, and then also involved in gangs in San Francisco. And then I was able to live overseas in Venezuela for a few years, where I experienced a whole different makeup around criminal justice. And yeah, in reality, if I think back, you know, was not aware of any type of many resources for reentry. And so when I came back to the United States, again, I was very fortunate to get connected with Rubicon programs, and I've been employed there for about 16 years. Our mission is to break the cycle of poverty, and that deeply aligns with my mission and desire to see equity across the world in our communities and for folks who are reentering the community after incarceration. You know, I don't talk about this piece as much, but also, you know, have experienced, you know, been the victim of crime, and have some family members who have been incarcerated, as well as deeply beloved friends and community members. So I looked at the connection of my organization to the CAB community, and you know, all that I've learned in the years of working with Rubicon, and wanted to lend my voice and experience to advocating and to pushing. I think, you know, with what's happened recently, and more of an awakening and a reckoning with many injustices, with you know, mass incarceration, with you know, police violence, etc., that I wanted to be part of this community. This is my second year with the CAB, and I've also had the privilege of being part of the Programs and Services Subcommittee. And so, you know, I look at this as a deep opportunity and privilege to lean in, to push, to see, to think strategically and creatively about how we can change deep injustices in our community. And I am going to pass the baton to, okay, I'm looking.
I know we've had, I know Jerry and Jonte were trying to get back on.
Okay. I was like, I know there's more people, but I don't see them.
So why don't we do this? If we do have, as we mentioned, we do have 2 people that are in the hopper, as it were, as a CAB member. If you could just give us a quick, just like we did as well, that would be great. Dale, can you say hello to your new board members? I'm assuming. looks like Dale froze.
No,
Oh.
I'm sorry. I couldn't tell whether you said Dell or Dale, and so I didn't know if it was someone.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. If it was someone on the phone.
Mr. Harrington. So that way.
No, not at all. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Quickly, my focus in my entire adult life has been on people. I started out working in 2 probation departments in the state of California, first Yolo County and then Santa Barbara County. Started as a deputy, worked my way up to assistant chief, and then spent several years there. Then changed careers and was an executive director for low-cost housing corporations for elderly and disabled people, and did that for many years. And when I retired from that, I ended up on the board of directors for one of those corporations, and then worked with adults at the University of Phoenix. I was a faculty member for 31 years at the University of Phoenix, focusing on management, sociology, and critical thinking. And now I'm retired and I live in Rossmore, and I'm on the Golden Rain Foundation Board of Directors, and I'm on several committees here. So working with elderly people again. So that's it.
Hey, thank you, Dale. And last but not least, Mark, could you say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself, please, for folks that might not know you?
Okay. I grew up in Oakland, California, went to Castlemont. So I think this is just another part of my journey. I don't know exactly where I fit in, but I know I fit in with the like-minded people that are part of this group. Mainly, we're trying to make this a better society for all the people in our own way. And that started for me when I was about 16, or so about 60 now. And my path has went through a lot of different angles that I didn't expect, because I went from Castlemont to CU Boulder in Colorado. And then I was doing well. And then I ended up in the big school called the Federal Penitentiary for bank robbery and assault on an FBI agent. I got shot 4 times point blank because I showed my stubborn streak. I refused to go alive. But some higher power decided you should live and make up for it. Actually, that's what I said before I tried the suicide by cop and charged him with a knife. I said, not my will, but thine be done. And so now I have to live up to that. My life is not my own. But just like when I was back at Castlemont and knew about Martin Luther King, it was all about serving humanity. I mean, Martin Luther King, what he spoke about was bigger than any one group, race, or nation. And so that's where I got my ideas of going into psychology and to find what the problem was, because I knew the biggest problem was in the minds of human beings. Because what we're dealing with here, the injustice, the wrong ways we treat each other, it's not just here in the United States, it's like worldwide. So I was trying to figure out what's going on. So that's still my journey. It's taken me through prison, where I learned to not to care mostly about myself, but other people. And that's one reason I recovered. So after I had did bank robbery and got 2 sentences, I came to the realization it was all about other people. So by the time I did a total of 13 years, when I walked out the door, it was just a continuation of my life. The reentry part was easy. Got a job, went to grad school. But what I bring uniquely, I think, is I'm a transpersonal psychologist. I respect all the dimensions, physical, emotional, mental, but I think a real issue is our disconnection from the greater unity of life. So to me, that's the spiritual level. But The work takes me into homeless shelters to sit and do circles with homeless people in the jails, in the prisons. So I've done a work with people on the street. Wherever I see someone needs help, trying to do something, but I usually stay to myself. And so I'm learning what's going on here and seeing what I can do. It's best to observe and learn before one tries to do too much. So that's usually my approach. And I'm up here in Oakley, and I will pass it to someone else.
I think that's it. Thank you, Mark. And I don't think we missed anybody on the board. And so, hey, just if we would just jump to like agenda item 4, and as I listed there, it's just an overview of our planning meeting. And like I said, again, I'd like to just thank everybody for attending. I mean, you guys helped make quorum. You know, Shayla, I know, hey, we're in there in the same time frame. We're both timing out this year. So I wouldn't say this meeting was just for folks that are continuing on, but I think that I really wanted folks that were continuing on to for us to meet. And again, you know, I just really wanted to touch base with you folks, kind of get a feel on. I know I've talked to folks individually, and sometimes there's a little bit of trepidation or, you know, not really knowing where we are. You know, Crawford just basically just straight said it out. You know, I'm as far as where I fit in, and so I just want to look kind of like where we are, and then maybe where we're headed, and then and again back to my idea with, you know, my thought process with, you know, due to our inability to meet in person, you know, I believe some of the like personal connections have not been made. And I've said before, I don't want to sound like the grumpy person, you know, down with the technology, but this is my 3rd year on CAB, and I know hey, our concerns about having to use this format pales in comparison of all the issues on why we have to be doing this, you know, with pandemics and all this stuff. But I really see that part is missing, and that some of us have only know each other through this medium. So I really feel like some of our connections have not been built up because of that. And also, since it was a concerted effort to have diversity on the board, and what I meant by diversity was that not necessarily folks that were in the realignment reentry business. And so what happens with that as well is that we have people that don't work together or don't cross in their, you know, their daily lives. So let's see. So I just really wanted to, at this point, just kind of really say that I really appreciate your efforts, and I want to actually even go back to where you know, I kind of say that thing sometimes, you know, maybe on the outside, I don't really look really excited, but on the inside, I really am. And I just know that the folks that are looking at me right now have really taken this process seriously, their CAB membership seriously, have worked hard, and that any conversations I've had where people have had anxiety about what's going on and questions, it's all been in the idea that you want to really do what's best and want to understand everything. And so I just wanted to kind of put that out there. And I didn't know if there was any comments from you folks on how you're kind of feeling where we are in this process. And I just do want to say one other thing too, that it has been odd for me this year with CAB, and where one oddity is a good thing. So the good thing, the oddity was that we were actually still working on things from the last CAB because of our recommendations, and that how the county really looked at these seriously. So we were still kind of working on stuff from last year. So that's been odd. And then again, I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted to help me, Patrice. But we've talked about this, but I really just wanted to kind of, at this point, that's why we were meeting, that I just wanted to check in, see if we had any input from or ideas or thoughts from you folks. And then as we start looking forward to the end of this CAB year and then going forward. So with all you 3-year people coming up.
I'll go.
Who's gonna go? I heard
me, Nicole. You don't know my voice by now.
Okay, and I see Dale. Dale has something to say after you too. So go ahead, Nicole, please.
I would say as a new CAB member for me, as I stated, I kind of jumped in, and you guys usually have we're having the meetings in face, so Zoom was a challenge, and the retreat was actually awesome, but it's having a better knowledge of our explanation. I think it was due to COVID and the Zoom, so we had to figure out a way to have the retreat. But as someone that's more new, is really understanding your role. And I think, with people leaving and someone else coming in, if they're not familiar, my first time ever on CAB is having a better understanding of your roles and responsibilities and what to do. I think everyone's doing a great job and giving out information. Nicole, everyone is great. Patricia, everyone's great. But for me, that was it. I think I'm getting a little bit better at it, but being new to it, having more of that defined understanding of really, especially if you're stepping in and taking over for someone else, really understanding what you're taking over, what the expectations are, what the next steps are, so you get feel more comfortable with stepping in. That's what I would have, But outside of that, everyone's great.
And I do want to acknowledge that Nicole is one of the new folks that jumped in and chairing a subcommittee. So the nervousness about, or maybe, I don't know if that's the right word, about not
it is.
Okay. So the nervousness is not knowing exactly what you're doing.
Yes.
Didn't keep you from stepping forward. And so I appreciate that.
Smart Bob. So, are you still happy with your house?
You had a comment, Dale?
Yes. As I was listening to you, I felt sadness of us missing people like you. And the thought occurred to me, I think we should set up a graduate program or a retiree program, CAB retirees, so that you people can get together and continue sharing that knowledge, and we could benefit from it.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you, there was one CAB, was that 2 years ago, where I know the chair and the vice chair, one of them is in this meeting where, yeah, they were hanging out as public members to kind of add some insight and education. So yeah.
I can see you doing that, Michael.
Any other comments? All right, so actually to segue with Nicole's comments, really trying to understand CAB, I did attach some items for us to kind of look at. A wise person with these meetings told me, you have to assume that when you post something that people read every single piece of it before the meeting. I mean, that's supposed to be your assumption, but maybe not all the time. So talking to some of you and there seems to still be, there has been that question is what is under our umbrella? What is the things that we're supposed to look at, and is this under our purview? And so I just wanted to just touch on this. I'm not really gonna, I didn't really want to go, I'm not really big on reading every line of something that's been provided for you, but just want a little, just kind of go over purpose and functions of the Community Advisory Board. And what was it, your attachment 1? That was something that was developed in the retreat in 2017. I believe we kind of changed a little bit of the words, because I see Crawford, if you look in there, I know there was, I think that might be the Crawford clause, where there was a discussion about us serving as a watchdog. And I believe it was you. Am I giving you credit where credit's due, that you did like the word spotlight added on there as well? So I kind of jumped to section 4, but just the purpose and functions of the CAB. So 1 is address the big picture. So, and it's to advance the county's consideration of the role, scope, and impact of the criminal justice system. Oh, thank you, Patrice. And is there a way? Oh, you can make it bigger on your own computer. There we go.
Can you guys see it?
There you go. Thank you. Oh, it's gone now.
Oops, sorry.
And then we want to advance justice reinvestment. So we want to ensure that the county is working to reinvest criminal justice resources. We want to provide policy and budget advocacy, policy recommendations on best practices. Part of our talking points is we want to be able to reduce incarceration, anything we can do to reduce incarceration locally. And then one thing I know we really should be looking at here is that we want to foster expansion of services. I know in the past that's something that's happened where we've either done recommendations or support for expansion of services. You know, ORJ would be an example. Early intervention with the public defenders, social workers, and public defenders would be good examples of those. And then 4, we are to serve as a watchdog / Crawford Carpenter spotlight. And that we are looking at the AB 109 revenues, implementation of those monies, and then what has been happening. And again, when I said that the oddity is that we really were still working on stuff that we did from last year, is that the questioning, examination, and challenging of budgets that are both proposed and spent and reported. So that's been really important. And of course, we've done the surveys and the research. So, and we're advocating for the increased investment in CBOs and all the AB 109 investments in the communities, and then provide information and communication. That would be the outreach, improve public access, and influence decision makers to reflect community, which would be our ambassador program. So just kind of, and the reason I thought it might be important to kind of look at this, because that's been the question sometimes, you know, hey, we're thinking about looking into this, and what the member wants to look at may be an important item, important important area, and it may even be, but it may not just be under our purview on what the cab is for. So any comments on that? Any input?
Michael, this is Lila, and I was curious, and maybe it's more coming here, but if you see if you or anyone else, connected to ORJ or on the cab sees specific ways that some of these pieces fit into the programs and services subcommittee. I think for me, understanding how the subcommittee work flows together and then supports the larger CAB, has also been something that I've been, learning as I go and could always understand more deeply.
Sure, I could actually speak to that, Lila. So if you look at maybe like number 2 and also 3, the bullets under there with regards to justice reinvestment. Oftentimes you'll hear in the community, right, that there is this growing need to shift dollars from the justice system to community programs. And while that is an understandable call from community, oftentimes what is left hanging or left on the table is what are the best programs and services that are to be invested in? Are they evidence-based? Are they of high quality? What is most appropriate for the population that you're trying to make an impact on? So certainly programs and services subcommittee, I think is probably the best space to have those kind of conversations and to do some of that research, which you guys are already doing, particularly around restorative justice, right? And then there was conversations you all are having around housing programs, around how we can make, or how CAB can have some influence on the Step It Up initiative and the SAM map. So I think you guys are already sort of right on target in terms of how you all are functioning and the types of areas that you're looking into and wanting to gather more information. And from there, that feeds into some of the CAB's overall, or provides input to CAB's overall policy recommendations or budget recommendations. Because if there are some additional dollars available through the county, through multiple sources that can benefit the reentry population, then it's always good to say where to actually put those dollars to directly. We're getting to a place now, I think overall, both with the criminal justice system and the reentry system, we want to start to see what sort of impact is being made out in the community from all of the resources that have been delivered over the past several years. And AB 109 has been in effect since, or at least dollars have been out in the community since around 2012. So that's a very long time for dollars to be out in the community. And the need to see, are we getting the biggest bang for our buck? What is in fact the impact? Your committee is actually helping to inform some of that. So 2 and 3, I think, is definitely aligned with your subcommittee and the bullets underneath, as well as number 5, protect community investments. Even so, around advocating for increased investment in CBOs, or just simply advocating for increased investment or expansion of services. We see now that AB 109 created the foundation for specific services, but we see that there's still some gaps there, right? Which is why you're looking into how to ensure that restorative justice practices are embedded in programming and reentry programming throughout the county. There may be other things such as gender responsive programming that we need more of that for our community. So the work that you guys do sort of intertwine with a few of these, and what comes to mind most notably is 5 and 2. What did I say? 2, 3, and 5 for sure.
Thank you, Patrice. That was really helpful.
And And I know also as a board and even in the subcommittees that, and as we start working toward the policy brief, and I know, and pardon me if this is bring up in a full meeting or if it's just been subcommittees, but also for us to grasp what's the difference between, as Patrice said, trying to influence maybe a use of money or a way a program is, or if we're supporting idea, like we're getting support by supporting expanded housing. That would be like a general. But then also we've done the recommendations. Again, we're just recommending up to CCP, but we're recommending like specific, like we recommended the expansion of ORJ. We recommended social workers for the public defender. So I know that's something that as a group, we probably have to flesh out as well as we start leaning toward these recommendations, support, and just that terminology.
I'm just noticing that Jerry's here. That's awesome.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, that brief description. Thank you for asking that question, because that brief description from Patrice and as well as you, Michael, I was taking my notes, actually cleared up a lot of questions I had and made a lot of questions I had in my mind a little bit more clear for me when it comes to the subcommittee. So I mean, I really appreciate that.
Hey, Jerry, can you, so since you're back, we actually had everybody take 1 or 2 minutes to kind of do the introductions like we did at maybe at the retreat, to kind of let folks, are you gone again? Oh, there you are. To let kind of folks know who you are, a little bit about you and how you fit in to this whole cab and what brought you here. We don't have any sound.
Jerry, we see that you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you don't have any sound, Jerry. So if you get it, let me know and we can get back to you, okay? All right. And so I just wanted to have that overview for folks again. And then attachment 2 is just basically our operating guidelines. And so clearly from public comment, Dale did his homework. So I know he went through it. But again, this is another, I just wanted to, just kind of go back to some of the basics here. And again, not to go through everything, but, we do have kind of the duties and powers, and that, our goal is to, our job is to advise CCP and provide input on community needs and assess the implementation of the county's reentry strategic plan. And that's, that's what we do regarding, of course, money, realignment planning and things like that. So, and I know early on when I came on, there was always that question about conflict of interest. I know, and in part section 3, reminds us that actually the Board of Supervisors is the final decision-making authority concerning realignment. And and our job is that we really are just an advisory board. And so we don't necessarily make policy. We make recommendations and pass it up, right? And so also kind of highlighted the piece of the membership. I know I said it before, and for folks that are moving forward, I think it's important where it says that CAB members will include representatives from community groups, service providers, working with people with criminal backgrounds, members of the criminal justice system, and all other interested individuals. And those are our community members. You don't necessarily need to be impacted, but just really care about what we do. And that we encourage participation by formerly incarcerated individuals, as well as individuals impacted by crime. So I think that's important as we go forward, and the outreach committees as we're looking for new members. And also I am part of the outreach committee. So we did talk about that piece that was brought up about trying to get our membership kind of across the county, kind of represent the county. I think we're East and Central heavy right now. So there's something to be aware of as we start looking at recruiting and trying to find, try to even it out if we can. Anybody who's ever worked with any government or any policies knows there's that word will and shall. So, you shall do this, you will do this. And as I explained this on the county diversity, I think it said every effort will be made to. So, but something to look for, so when you're out there, hey, this is my my spiel for the outreach committee. We are actively seeking board members as we go forward. So if you know anybody, send them to ORJ and they will get the stuff to us. All right. And I'm kind of gonna, so that's actually there for your information. And we did want to talk once again about the CAB committee charters. So put that in there again. I think it's something that might be good for us all to revisit when there's questions. And those are attached as well, policy and budget, and that's assist CAB in making policy and budget recommendations. With the strong assistance of ORJ, because I don't know, yes. And so that policy and budget is gonna, that's kind of the main job of them, is trying to assist develop annual budget requests. So, that's pretty straightforward. Now, it's Lila, who's been on program and services, correct, for two seasons. And so it's promoting and supporting increased use of community needs and assessment. So recommending programs and engage providers to educate CAB or committee members about their work and outcomes. And I think, and do I understand correctly, part of the uncertainty from this subcommittee, or their duties, or really what are we recommending new programs? Are we right? Are we assessing the old ones? Or so is that kind of where you are with that, Lila?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just understanding the scope, like when are we overstepping or when are we not on the right track. This is super helpful. And yeah, like, are we, is the desired goal that we come up with a program to, recommend funding for, or is it, all of these other things that are outlined, or some of them, not all of them, depending on the year. So yeah, I think this is really, really, yeah, this is great. And thank you for readdressing my question.
And I think, and I know this has been mentioned, I've mentioned it before. The question has been, so if I back up in the past, the retreat actually was an opportunity to actually that early in the process, maybe have some ideas and determine, well, what is this CAPS thing? And Patrice, please jump in if I get this. So part of that whole 8 hours in and mashing and going through this thing was actually trying to come up, figuring out what is our CAPS thing. And I don't necessarily feel like we found that what is our thing. What if you said this cab this year, what was their thing? I know what our thing was last year, and I really feel like we really came out with a very solid and policy brief. I mean, and then also, we could look at every year our recommendations and support of ORJ expanding. But the question is, I mean, I have those questions. I know I've heard questions from you folks like, what is our thing? And we're halfway through the year, and we will be working towards a policy brief. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's not going to be something outside of our basic duties. I'm not sure. So I'm looking for answers. I don't have all the answers on that one. So that's been my kind of concern. And do I have that right, Patrice? Because isn't that part of the retreat as well?
Yeah, in the past, CAB members have looked at what are some of the, what I will call like hot topic or hot button issues that might be happening in the context of criminal justice, both locally, statewide, and nationally. And so obviously you're making recommendations, or the work that you're doing is about affecting our local justice system, but some of those other things, whether it's pending legislation, things of that nature, would have an impact on what can be done here locally. So you take some of those things into consideration, and from that decide on what sort of issues that you want to raise or you might want to prioritize. Now, the other thing is that this particular CAB is carrying forward a lot of the policy statements or issues that were raised from prior year CABs, right? So in that sense, there was a lot of legwork that was done prior to you all coming on board that sort of set the foundation for you to take what may not have been implemented yet and continue to work towards it, continue to raise those same issues. So for example, the restorative justice piece had been something that a previous CAB had been working on. I believe it was the Programs and Services Committee specifically, had worked on maybe a couple of years ago. And, it didn't necessarily go anywhere, not for any one particular reason, but it just hadn't. And so now you guys are picking it back up and doing a little bit more with it. So there's things that have been done in the past that may not have come to fruition in the way that CAB would have hoped. But then that just means that's an area to either prioritize and to keep moving forward or not. Some of the other work around budget transparency, For example, a lot of inroads have been made over the last several years, and CAB had been consistently making recommendations to CCP and to PPC to adjust and augment that process. To now we're at a place where the CAO is working directly with CAB to ensure that there's some standards in place across all bodies, both the county agencies and the CBOs, in their reporting. So that way there's a forum, there's a place for all of us to kind of speak to, well, how are dollars being expended? So I think overall, if you take a step back, you can kind of look at what has transpired over the past several years, what is currently happening and in play, and then from there decide what it is that you want to prioritize or move forward on. But I think you guys are operating pretty well. If I can say, I too was a former CAB member, and I can understand where you all might be sitting, especially if this is your first year. My first year, I was feeling the same way, wasn't necessarily sure of my place or what I could raise questions on, or what I could recommend, or things of that nature. But I think once you get past your first year, by the time you get into your second year, you feel a little bit more comfortable, and you can understand that from the bodies that you are advising, right, Board of Soups, PPC, and even CCP, the great thing is that they're actually wanting to hear from you. So they want to get community feedback and input on how these dollars should be spent, on the best ways to support this population. And so when you think about it from that lens, you have room to really, deliberate on what would you like to see in your community. And especially for those of you who do operate in programs that are funded by AB 109, you know what some of the gaps are, you know what some of the needs are in the community. You've gotten feedback from other CBOs. So from there, you can really begin to either think through what are the best programs and services that should be designed to meet those needs or those gaps, or at the very least, elevate the conversation at those various boards, CCP, BOS, and PPC, to say, these are the gaps that we're finding in the system. How can we get your leadership in addressing those? It could be as simple as that.
Thank you, Patrice. And so I just wanted to get that information out, and then just basically maybe just talk like a few minutes, because just about the future and the future of CAB. So I felt it was important for us, one, to get a feel on who was returning a little earlier in the process than usual. And I don't know if I said this at the subcommittee or the full CAB, so excuse me if you heard it before. But just so we got a feel on who was coming back, and with the idea that things are going to be different going forward. So the folks that are in this room, one, I just want to, again, thank you for being here, and also just to say that thank you for the work and the effort that you're doing. So like a wise person that's in this meeting told me, with CAB, if you have like a couple, 3 people that, they usually, really the ones that are, making most of the motion going, that's not the case with this CAB. So I know from the first retreat, when we were asking people to be officers, and we had already planned in the retreat for me trying to convince people and, how we're going to do that, it was not an issue. And so I just want to say, one, I feel everybody, you're doing a great job. If there's some frustration, or you really don't know, or the comfort level, it's only from you wanting to do a good job, and you're doing stuff. So that's the way and I also want you really to think about just the whole succession planning, and that, so we're actually losing 2 officers for sure next year. So Shayla is timing out as I am, and so I would hope, and I will continue to probably be in your ears over these next 5 months, and that it won't seem like such a transition to move up. And so I think there's that great commercial where, you know, it comes time to pay the check, and then there's one guy, he has an alligator arm, so he can't reach for his wallet. You know, so I like to say that one of these cabs that I was on when they were choosing officers and they were looking for volunteers, there was a lot of alligator arms going on in there. So you guys are a lot different than that crew. I was looking around. It was almost one of those, you know, where everybody, you know, asks for a volunteer and everybody steps back. I kind of felt like that's how I got on the outreach, but it worked out. It worked out. So I really want you folks that are on subcommittees or your vice chairs already to just think about that, and also cannot diminish the support that you get from ORJ. So even I felt like I kind of ended up being chair because the chair left. I mean, resigned. So that's how I ended up being the chair. And then, but the support of ORJ is there, and they've expanded and they've done a great job. So I really want you folks to really consider that. And also, excuse me if I'm just not linear in the way I'm speaking, and just where I did say that we are going into, most likely, the next cab, the whole setup is going to be different. I don't know if it's going to be hybrid or you folks are going to start meeting in person again. And, you know, that was the norm for some of us in this room, and it's going to be new. And so that also adds to people's availability, and also that took into consideration where part of the county that folks lived or worked. So like you use like the Reentry Success Center there, we would put somebody who lived and worked in the West would go to those. But, you know, now since everything is on Zoom, so we will, I know I will be touching base with folks and kind of putting this in your ear. But I just want to say that I feel like things are moving well. We're doing a good job. And in fact, I got to tell, I'm also on the outreach committee. I'm part of that committee. And more often than not, I have to explain, no, we can slow down, you know, and it's a good thing to say. Crawford's laugh because like, no, he's like, well, why don't we just do this now? I'm like, no, the calendar, we can, however, it's calendared that way for a reason, you know, that thing's not going to be for a while. So those are good problems to have. So that was my whole point of us kind of meeting. I wanted to just really sit here with you folks and not lament the fact too hard that we're not actually sitting in a room together. But, and if you feel any confusion, trepidation, nervousness, or whatever, it's not unique. But it's because you care about what you're doing, you care about the tasks that we have, and I just want to submit that I feel like you're doing a great job. So I'm gonna open the floor. If anybody has any comments, anything they want to add, please do.
Michael, I thought you were going to say if anybody, you know, sees themselves in these leadership positions that are going to be opening up to speak to you or to Shayla, does that also work?
Yeah, because so, and Lila, you know the process where, you know, people are hey, you saw, well, there's some interesting ones where, you know, there's a motion that I nominate so-and-so for this, and I think was that 2 years or last? Yeah, where the last, you know, it was kind of like nobody really wanted to do it, so everybody's kind of quiet. So, but yeah, I just wanted folks to think about it, and that once we get there, it might not be so daunting, or if the board knows that, you know, a couple people are interested, and we can go from there. I just don't want, like I said, that visual, the alligator arm thing. Even though I won't be part of it, I just it would be nice if you know, it would be a smooth transition. That's all. So, but hey, if you're ready to go, Lila, hey, you can write me a letter, email, however you can get that info to me. I'll be listening.
I know with this group, you're going to start getting petitions and letters from everybody, right? I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if nobody has anything else, I do want to put out though, if there's any questions, or, you know, if you felt like 15 minutes of it was really rambling, please get to me. And again, I can't thank you folks enough. I just kind of picked this time. I know we weren't able to survey, and I hope it was valuable. I know for me, if I'm gonna be selfish, I got to get all this information out, let you folks know how I feel. So there was value for me. Hope there was value for you. And if no one else has any comments, then I'll just adjourn, and I'll see you folks at the next either subcommittee or the full CAB. So anybody have anything else?
I actually do have one more thing. I just wanted to add that, again, ORJ is definitely here to support you all, not only in terms of staffing and receiving your direction, but then also in providing guidance. And in any way I can, or my team can, help you talk through, you know, if at any moment you're feeling sort of uncertain about which direction to go, we can certainly always make time to talk through those things. So just know that ORJ is definitely a resource to you beyond just staffing the meetings, but even behind the scenes if there's any additional support that you might need. And also, please give yourself grace. You guys are doing a phenomenal job in the middle of a pandemic where you can't be together. So, and you're the only CAB that's had to experience this. So I'd say you guys are doing a fantastic job.
All right, with that, so we'll adjourn our meeting at 2:37. Oh, yep, 2:37 p.m. Hey, thank you, folks. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. Hey, Patrice, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. I really meant that. I hope they got something out of it. I sure did. I feel better.
And Dale, I'll respond to your email. I haven't forgotten about you.
Okay, right. Thank you. It's okay. Not like you don't have anything to do.
I haven't forgotten about you. I'll get to you for sure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hey, any direction on Patrice? Any traction or any on the whole hybrid thing? Are we?
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. You know, and again, with this whole Delta variant too going around,
that's true too.
There's a lot to be TBD on a lot of things.
You see our numbers this morning?
I didn't see it. No.
The hospitalization, I don't know. I caught it on the news this morning. It's like it's up. Santa Clara is way up too.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Okay, well we'll see.
Okay, I'll keep you posted.
All right, thanks. Thanks again.
Right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.